First Contact and Ultimatum. The Silurian Empire had dominated the galactic stage for over 15,000 years. Their silvery blue vessels glided between star systems with effortless grace, their technology so advanced that most species mistook it for magic. The empire expanded not through brutal conquest, but through calculated manipulation, offering technological trinkets in exchange for resources, sovereignty, and eventually total submission. High Chancellor Zix Valen stood before the massive holographic display that filled the central chamber of the imperial flagship Eternal Dominion. His slender 7-foot frame cast a long shadow across the polished obsidian floor as his 4 pupilled eyes studied the unexpected anomaly at the edge of their territory. "Explain this again," Zix Valen demanded, his voice carrying the melodic yet authoritative tone that had negotiated the surrender of countless civilizations. Science Director Mevlorin approached, her scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the display. "The signals originated from a previously undocumented system, Chancellor. We've been monitoring them for nearly 12 cycles. They call themselves humans. They've developed rudimentary faster-than-light travel and established 11 colonies beyond their homeworld. Yet our intelligence suggests they have no unified governance structure." Zix Valen's thin lips curved into what passed for amusement among Silurians. "Correct, Chancellor. Multiple nation-states, competing corporate entities, religious factions. They expend considerable resources fighting amongst themselves." Zix Valen made a dismissive gesture with his 6-fingered hand. "Perfect. Prepare the diplomatic fleet. The standard approach should suffice." Within days, the Silurian diplomatic mission departed, 3 majestic command ships escorted by a modest combat fleet of 20 vessels, enough to demonstrate capability without appearing overtly threatening. First contact protocols were initiated, and messages transmitted ahead of their arrival offering friendship and technological exchange. Earth responded with predictable excitement. The major powers scrambled to position themselves advantageously for the historic meeting. After contentious global debate, they agreed to host the Silurians at the International Lunar Base, humanity's most impressive off-world structure. Grand Ambassador Televex led the Silurian delegation. She had negotiated the submission of 23 species to imperial authority without a single shot fired. Her record was unblemished by the messy complications of armed conflict. "We bring you the stars," Televex announced to the assembled human representatives, her voice translated flawlessly by Silurian technology. "Advanced propulsion systems, medical technologies beyond your imagination, clean energy solutions to your environmental crisis. In exchange, we request only modest mining rights on your outer planets and asteroids, resources you cannot yet efficiently access. A mutually beneficial arrangement." The human delegates requested time to discuss. Just as predicted, they began arguing immediately. Nations accused each other of seeking unfair advantage. Corporations lobbied for exclusive licensing rights. Military leaders expressed suspicion of Silurian motives. The Silurian observers recorded everything, identifying leverage points for future negotiations. When the humans returned, however, they brought something unexpected. Questions. Detailed, probing questions about the ecological impact of Silurian mining techniques, about labor practices within the empire, about the current status of other species who had entered similar agreements. "You misunderstand your position," Televex stated, her patience visibly strained. "We do not come as equals seeking partnership. The empire offers you advancement centuries beyond your natural development curve. The alternative path is less advantageous to your species." The human delegation withdrew again. When they returned, their spokesperson had changed. A tall woman with piercing eyes and silver-streaked hair addressed the Silurians. "I am Admiral Helena Zhao, representing the newly formed United Earth Defense Council," she announced. "We appreciate the Silurian Empire's generous offer. However, Earth and her colonies must respectfully decline. We will pursue our own destiny among the stars. We welcome peaceful trade and cultural exchange, but Earth's resources remain under human stewardship. Televex was stunned into momentary silence. In 15 millennia of imperial expansion, no species had ever simply declined their initial offer. They negotiated for better terms, perhaps, but outright refusal was unprecedented. "You would reject the protection of the Empire," she finally managed. "We haven't required protection thus far," Admiral Zhao replied simply. The diplomatic mission was recalled in disarray. The Imperial High Council was outraged. Intelligence reviews were ordered. How had they so dramatically misjudged these primitives? "It appears the humans value their autonomy beyond rational measure," reported Intelligence Director Krenzol. "They willingly sacrifice immediate technological advancement to maintain independence." "Then they must be shown the cost of defiance," declared Zixvalin. "Select one of their outlying colonies, something small enough that its loss will be felt, but not so significant as to unite them in grief rather than fear." New Horizon was chosen, a mining and agricultural colony of 22,000 humans on the edge of their territory. The attack was scheduled during their primary harvest season, when the colony would be most vulnerable and most productive. The Imperial Strike Force emerged from hyperspace without warning. 12 warships against a colony with nothing more than a small defense force and outdated orbital platforms. It was not meant to be a battle, merely an execution. The orbital platforms were vaporized within seconds. Precision strikes eliminated communication arrays, power distribution nodes, and defensive emplacements. Then the systematic destruction began. Infrastructure collapsed under Silurian weaponry. Residential areas were targeted with calculated efficiency. Just enough survivors were left alive to spread the message. Defy the Empire, and this is the consequence. Within 8 hours, New Horizon was reduced to smoking ruins. The Imperial Strike Force departed, mission accomplished. A message was transmitted to Earth. The Empire remained willing to resume negotiations at humanity's convenience. They expected capitulation within days. What they received instead was silence, complete communications blackout. For 27 days, the Empire's monitoring stations detected nothing from human space beyond their routine internal transmissions. Then the storm broke. It began with a transmission on all frequencies, broadcast in the clear. A woman's voice. The same steel-eyed admiral who had rejected their offer. But now her voice carried something new. Not fear, not submission. Fury. "This is Admiral Helena Zhao of the United Earth Defense Force to the Silurian Empire. You murdered 22,000 civilians on New Horizon. There will be no negotiations, no terms, no mercy. Humanity does not bend. We break those who threaten us." Before Imperial analysts could process the implications of a unified human military command, the reports began flooding in. Imperial outposts near human space had gone silent. Mining operations ceased transmitting. Surveillance platforms disappeared from the network. "Impossible," Intelligence Director Krenzol whispered as the tactical display updated. "They have no vessels capable of these strikes. Our intelligence confirms." "Your intelligence is worthless," Zixvalin snarled. "How many vessels have we lost?" 37, Chancellor, and 5 orbital facilities. The Empire had faced rebellions before. They had crushed species that resisted Imperial rule. Always, they responded with overwhelming force, a hammer to crush dissent. A battle fleet was assembled. 63 capital ships, hundreds of support vessels, enough firepower to reduce Earth to molten slag if necessary. The hammer would fall, and humans would learn their place in the cosmos. The fleet assembled at Outpost Caraxi, the Empire's forward military installation nearest to human space. From there, they would launch a devastating campaign to subjugate humanity once and for all. They never got the chance. Humanity unleashed. The human attack came without warning. Not raiders or strike craft, but a coordinated assault by 57 warships that Imperial intelligence hadn't known existed. Vessels with technology that shouldn't have been possible for humans to develop. Fleet Admiral Drenzerak watched in horror as the tactical display showed human vessels appearing inside the Imperial formation, somehow bypassing the defensive screen to strike at the heart of the fleet. Their weapons weren't the crude nuclear devices intelligence had reported. They were something else entirely, something that ignored shields and armor alike. They're using some form of directed quantum destabilization, a science officer reported, voice trembling. The technology is, they shouldn't have this. They can't have this. Imperial vessels began to die, not exploding in conventional fashion, but simply coming apart at the molecular level, disintegrating into clouds of elementary particles. No debris, no escape pods, just dissolution into cosmic dust. Fleet Admiral Drenzerak ordered a retreat. Survival now took precedence over the Empire's pride. But the humans had anticipated this as well. Somehow they had compromised the hyperspace navigation coordinates. Ships attempting to flee found themselves emerging into the gravity wells of stars, or the crushing depths of gas giants. Of the 63 capital ships that had assembled at Outpost Caraxi, only 9 escaped. Fleet Admiral Drenzerak was not among the survivors. The message Earth transmitted afterward was brief. This was our opening move. Cease all hostilities and withdraw from human space immediately, or what happened at Caraxi will seem merciful compared to what comes next. The Silurian Empire had ruled the stars for 15,000 years. They had never known defeat. They had never faced a species that did not eventually submit to their will. Until now, the Grand Council chamber had never been so silent. 17 of the Empire's highest officials sat around the massive crystalline table, their usual confident posture replaced by rigid tension. The holographic display at the center showed the steady advance of human forces through what had once been secure Imperial territory. "How is this possible?" demanded Counselor Jixmelin, slamming his fist on the table. They were barely spacefaring 3 centuries ago. High Chancellor Zixfallen, his political position deteriorating with each human victory, struggled to maintain composure. It appears they have been less than forthcoming about their capabilities. Less than forthcoming. Intelligence Director Krenzol's voice was hollow with shock. They've deployed technologies we believe theoretically impossible. Our most advanced research divisions are still trying to understand how their quantum destabilizers function. A junior officer entered the chamber, his scales pale with stress. "Chancellor, we've lost contact with the Centauri defensive line. All 43 vessels, gone." The room erupted in panic. The Centauri defensive line was supposed to be impenetrable, the Empire's bulwark against the human advance. "Silence," roared Zixfallen. "We must sue for peace. Immediately." "Peace," War Minister Voxkalev scoffed. "After what they've done, they'll demand our unconditional surrender. Then we shall give it to them," Zixfallen replied quietly. "The alternative is extinction." The Imperial transmission was sent on all frequencies, an unprecedented act of desperation from a civilization that had never known defeat. The High Chancellor himself delivered the message, humbling himself before a species they had considered primitive just months earlier. To the leadership of the United Earth Defense Force, the Silurian Empire formally requests cessation of hostilities. "We propose immediate withdrawal from all human-claimed territories and are prepared to offer substantial reparations for the attack on New Horizon. We await your response." The reply came not in words but in action. Human warships continued their advance, methodically dismantling Imperial defenses. 3 more major outposts fell. The Silurian homeworld began emergency evacuations. Finally, after 7 more days of devastating losses, a human transmission arrived. Admiral Helena Jo's face filled the screens of the Grand Council chamber. Her expression was not triumphant but resolute. "The United Earth Defense Force acknowledges your request for peace," she stated. "These are our terms: complete demilitarization of the Silurian Empire, surrender of all military vessels and weapons platforms, reparations equivalent to 1,000 years of the Empire's total economic output, to be paid to the families of New Horizon. Withdrawal from all territories claimed through coercion or manipulation of pre-FTL civilizations. Dissolution of the imperial government structure. The council was aghast. These weren't terms of peace. They were demands for total capitulation, the end of the Silurian Empire as it had existed for 15 millennia. And if we refuse? Zix Valen asked, though he already knew the answer. Then the next transmission you receive will be from Silurian Prime's orbit. Admiral Zhao replied simply. The Grand Council voted unanimously to accept the terms. There was no alternative. The mysterious, unstoppable human fleet was less than 3 days from the Silurian homeworld. As the human warships arrived to oversee the Empire's surrender, Imperial scientists finally decoded the mystery of humanity's sudden technological leap. They were never primitive, Science Director Mev Lauren reported to the remnants of the Council. Our initial observation reports missed crucial evidence. While their public technology appeared limited, they had been developing advanced weaponry in secret for centuries, anticipating eventual contact with potentially hostile species. But why? Asked Zix Valen, broken by the humiliation of defeat. Why maintain such elaborate deception? Their historical records suggest humanity experienced multiple near-extinction events from within. Wars using weapons of mass destruction. They developed a planetary consensus. Such technologies would be hidden, reserved only for existential threats from beyond their world. They showed us their civilian face while concealing their military capabilities behind a facade of disunity and technological limitation. The final meeting between humanity and the Silurian Empire took place not on a battlefield, but aboard the human flagship Retribution. Admiral Helena Zhao represented Earth, while a defeated High Chancellor Zix Valen spoke for what remained of the once mighty Empire. You should know, Admiral Zhao said as they concluded the formalities, that humanity didn't want this war. We would have been content with peaceful coexistence. Then why such overwhelming force? Zix Valen asked. You could have demonstrated your power without such devastation. Admiral Zhao's eyes hardened. Because 22,000 innocent people on New Horizon deserve justice. Because your empire has subjugated hundreds of civilizations through manipulation and threats. And because humanity has learned from its own bloody history that showing weakness to aggressors only invites further aggression. You offered terms of peace backed by violence. We answered with humanity's full capacity for war. In the cycles that followed, the galaxy witnessed an unprecedented transformation. The Silurian Empire dissolved into a confederation of autonomous systems. Species that had been subjugated for millennia reclaimed their independence, and humanity emerged as a new galactic power, not conquering the Empire's former territories, but establishing a defensive perimeter around Earth and its colonies. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity wished for peace, but those who brought war to human doorsteps would face extinction. As for the Silurians, they adapted to their diminished status with surprising resilience. Their culture, freed from imperial ambitions, experienced a renaissance of art, philosophy, and science. Some even suggested that humanity had done them a favor, though few would say so publicly. 5 years after the war's end, a new Silurian representative approached Earth with a proposal for limited technological exchange and trade. To everyone's surprise, humanity accepted. We never wanted isolation, Admiral Zhao, now serving as Earth's ambassador to galactic affairs, explained. We wanted respect. The Silurians have learned that lesson. Perhaps others won't need such a costly education. Throughout the galaxy, the story spread like wildfire, a cautionary tale repeated in countless languages across thousands of worlds. The Silurian Empire offered terms of peace backed by threats. Humanity answered with fire and fury, and the stars themselves trembled.